How y'all doing? This is Cascadia Coast News. This is just an update on the Washington magazine limit bill, House Bills 2240 and Senate Bill 6077. It has failed because it missed the deadline, and this is on NRA, their website, which I don't know how y'all feel about the NRA, but I think they've failed us quite a bit of times. Anyways. February 19th at 5 p.m. was the deadline for bills to advance from their chamber of origin. Bills to ban their standard capacity magazines and increase the red tape to obtain a CPL did not receive floor vote and are likely defeated for this session. A bill to reform Washington's onerous background check system passed the House, unfortunately. Several anti-gun bills did clear this deadline and will also continue in the legislative process. And I'll be doing another video on what them are. But if you go down here a little bit further, it's House Bill 1315 and Senate Bill 6294 requires government red tape and further training to obtain a concealed pistol license. Mandatory training requirements are yet another cost-prohibitive measure intended to ensure that the lower Americans are barred from defending themselves. Yeah, and that's exactly what it's doing. Plus, they're trying to get rid of concealed carry open carry here in Washington State. Passed the Chamber of Origin was Senate Bill 5434 by a 27-20 vote. It increases prohibited areas where law-abiding citizens cannot possess firearms, including CPL holders carrying for self-defense. This is actually more gun-free zones. The bill extended gun-free zones to public parks, libraries, and child care centers before being amended to only apply to child care centers. In addition to leaving law-abiding citizens defenseless against criminals who ignore arbitrary boundaries, the bill requires child care centers to publicly indicate they are a gun-free zone by posting signs outside the facilities. And then Senate Bill 6288 passed by a 25 to 23 vote. It creates an Office of Firearms Prevention within the executive branch of the state government. And I believe the Washington State Patrol is going to be taking care of this. I don't know much about that bill, but my guess is they're trying to create a gun registry. Governor Jay Inslee and his administration have already made it clear where they stand on the Second Amendment issues. And, it's coming around election time here pretty soon, so this is what I would do if I was y'all. I wouldn't vote for any Democrat, period. Democrats are bad. Bad news. They are after the rights of the American people. They are not for them. They are trying to create a socialistic dictatorship here in America, which, they are about 85% towards that goal. Jay Inslee and Bob Ferguson here in the state of Washington are just out of their freaking minds. They are tyrants to the utmost extent. So if you hear this, Mr. Bob Ferguson, Attorney General, and Governor Jay Inslee, what the hell were you guys thinking? You guys think worse than little children. You guys are morons. Anyways, moving on. They routinely sponsor and support gun ban legislation and initiatives designed to disarm law-abiding citizens. And they do. This office would be nothing more than a taxpayer-funded lobby group with the sole purpose of eroding self-defense rights in Washington State. So, here, I do not have a very good feeling for where our country is headed as we speak. I personally think that it is going to be a dictatorship here within the next couple of years. You know, it's already a police state as it is, with all the laws. There's over 50,000 laws on the books here in the United States, and uh, you can't actually read all the laws that are on the books. And what they say is this: ignorance to the law is no excuse. Yeah, well, that's man's laws. Anyways, House Bill 1010 passed by a 56 to 42 vote. It allows the Washington State Patrol to waste taxpayer dollars destroying confiscated firearms rather than to sell them to raise funds. And this is just another attack on the Second Amendment to, get the firearms away from civilians, because a small arms survey has said that citizens around the world have more arms than the militaries combined, which is actually true. You could just look it up. And they're trying to create this one world order, and you can't have a one world order with an armed populace, and I've said that about 1,000 times. House Bill 2305 passed by a 52 to 42 vote. It imposes a mandatory firearm prohibition for respondents of a vulnerable adult protective order. This order, which removes someone's Second Amendment rights for up to 5 years, requires no criminal convictions or even charges. In other words, this is just ludicrous. If your spouse or your ex-psychotic girlfriend decides that she's going to go get a protective order to remove your guns, you were barred from 5 years from having them. Tell me how that is due process. Ludicrous. Due process limits restrictions on constitutional rights to only serious convictions and adjudications that provide procedural protections to the accused, which results in more reliable proceedings. The right to keep and bear arms should not be treated as a second-class right and only should be restricted when sufficient protections are in place. I don't think that the right to bear arms should be restricted at all. It says shall not be infringed. How can you infringe on an inalienable right? No, this is what I'm talking about with the NRA. The NRA sides so they can get money, is exactly what they try to do. They compromise for money. They can be bought off, which means that's not a good thing. And then House Bill 2622 passed by a 56 to 42 vote. It modifies Washington's existing firearms surrender provisions for individuals subject to a court order. This bill compels a respondent to appear and provide proof on how and to what extent they complied with the surrender order. This is a serious encroachment on the right against compelled self-incrimination in any criminal, civil, or governmental proceedings. And we are not, the Constitution says that we are not, we do not have to testify against ourselves, and neither does our spouse. Which, they're trying to get rid of that. They're just trying to get rid of the Constitution entirely. Failure to appear results in the individual being in contempt of court, thereby putting the individual in a no-win situation. So if you don't go to court to tell them that if you have complied or not, you're going to get a contempt of court charge. That's freaking so stupid. Anyways, moving on. House Bill 2623 passed by a 56 to 41 vote. It prohibits an individual from possessing a firearm if they are convicted of a misdemeanor crime of unlawful aiming or discharge of a firearm. Oh my gosh. This poorly conceived legislation even applies to air guns and air slingshots and has no exceptions for an individual aiming or discharging a firearm for self-defense purposes in location that would otherwise be authorized. In other words, y'all comply with what we say or kiss your rights goodbye. This is what the police state is all about, ladies and gentlemen. This is the police state of America. This is the dictatorship rising as we speak, and it's so forever on the horizon here in America right now, unless we, as we the people, do something about this. It's just going to continue to happen. House Bill 2467 passed by a vote of 66 to 32. House Bill 2467 directs Washington State Patrol to create a centralized state system for all firearm transfers to allow firearm dealers to submit information electronically and receive feedback instantaneously. This bill was introduced by a bipartisan group of legislators who have recognized that background checks in Washington have imposed excessive delays on gun owners. Background checks for handgun transfers are done in the archaic manner by mail to local law enforcement, who are tasked with manually checking databases. CPL holders previously were able to avoid the archaic check for handguns and instead were allowed to go through the federal NICS as a courtesy, which provided instant feedback. That exemption ceased in July of 2019. The enactment of I-1639 also added transfers of semi-automatic rifles to this system with the addition of an $18 fee. Though this archaic background check has a 10-day waiting period to allow for completion, these factors, along with I-594 requiring background checks of all transfers, has resulted in an ever-increasing strain on the system, creating delays that drag up to 30 days. Unfortunately, there will be a fee attached to the background check, which has been capped out at $18. While the exact fee has not been set, your NRA remains committed to reducing and eliminating the fees, exercise Second Amendment rights, and is working with legislators to allocate funds to ultimately reduce costs and delays for everyone involved. But there's that. There's some of the bills that passed here in Washington, which, I don't agree with any of these bills. Let me know what y'all think here in the comments. Scary times. Y'all have a good evening, and God bless.